What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of the Sunday League Screamers podcast. I'm your host of today's show, Steve McCutcheon, along with my two co-hosts, Vino Anazelli and Michael Noen. Say hello, fellas.
Steve, what's going on, man?
What's up, Steve? How you doing?
No, hello today. All right,
Yeah,
Michael,
this is
changing it
weird.
up.
Sorry,
I don't know if I like that or not.
I'm in a weird mood. Sunday.
Trust me, we know.
We well aware.
We have another great show for you guys today. Before that, please take a moment, hit the bell, and subscribe to us on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, and wherever else you find your podcast. Also follow us over on Twitter at the SL Screamers_pod. So before we get started on the show, we got some news and notes from around the league, or just news and notes around the world, I should say, in general. And the biggest news coming from the UEFA and the Super League.
Yeah, that was really big news today. A little unexpected. So whoever, for anyone who hasn't heard about it so far, UEFA essentially today came out and said, following proceedings against Barcelona, Juventus, and Real Madrid, who were the three remaining Super League clubs not to officially pull out of the deal so far, they officially just dropped the case against all Super League clubs, saying they declared the proceedings null and void, as if the proceedings never had been opened. And in addition to that, which I find unbelievable, they said in order to avoid any unnecessary complications, UEFA will not request payment of any amount offered. That includes $22 million pounds combined between United and Liverpool, which was seen as a goodwill payment. So basically, long story short, nothing has happened and nothing will happen against these clubs in terms of sanctions or any type of penalties against all of the clubs involved, which is a little bit ludicrous, in my opinion.
I just cannot fathom how this can go poorly. I can't even think about the scenarios that are going to come out of this. To not punish, because they definitely should be punished, these clubs, all clubs included, not just the ones who are still holding out, is, to your point, ludicrous. That's the perfect word to describe it. It really is. So we'll see what happens, and I'm sure we'll hear about the Super League in a very short period of time again, popping back up relatively soon. So
is there, if I'm understanding that correctly, obviously they're not punishing the three teams that were still remaining, and then weren't the Premier League teams supposed to face the fines that we were kind of talking about with the Man U Liverpool
so
thing?
they were originally supposed to face fines, but it sounds like all of these fines were postponed until the outcome of the court proceedings were resolved. And given that they just dropped all of them, they're not seeking any financial compensation. So anything that was agreed upon to pay, it no longer has to be paid, basically.
Gotcha.
So,
okay.
While it's nice, I mean, the only real repercussion any of these clubs are facing is a public image issue, which, not for nothing, I know everyone still knows about the Super League, but it's not really on the forefront of anyone's mind anymore. So this is essentially just never happened at this point. And it's a little bit of a dangerous precedent to set, because without any type of repercussions, you've done nothing to try to prevent something like this or this exact thing to ever happen again. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the future, because Real Madrid, Barcelona, and Juventus, the three remaining clubs, they are still vehemently standing behind what they said. So
yeah,
who knows at this point?
A lot of those clubs too, those three in particular, have had well-documented financial issues in the past. So yeah. I would not be surprised to see Real Madrid's been doing a little bit better, but I would not be surprised.
Their debts.
Yeah, go ahead.
A lot of their debts also, from what I understand, it's a massive number, but it's from the stadium too.
Exactly.
It's not as much as like where Barcelona is more the players and the transfers, and a lot more like Real has a lot longer time to pay it off.
I'm pretty sure Juventus is more the same line as like Barcelona's.
Yeah, they are.
It's more player focused.
Mm-hmm.
So for those two, I guess those two in particular, they're going to be swinging hard for a Super League or something along those lines, because God knows that they need a lifeline, to say the least.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's head over to the Champions League real quick. We got a couple games coming up this week for some Premier League squads. Over on Tuesday, we have PSG and Man City. Man City's traveling over to Paris. And then we have Porto and Liverpool.
The Oil Bowl. Love it.
The only two teams that could have afforded Messi.
Oh, it's going to be great. Can't wait to watch the $1 billion team A versus $1 billion team B. Head to head. Based on form, is Messi playing, or is he's
going to be fit to play?
Is he really?
He returned to training, and according to rumors, he's going to be ready to play We'll see if he starts the whole game or if he comes off the bench. But
I've said PSG from the beginning to win the Champions League. I see them probably getting a draw here right now because I just don't think they're firing on full cylinders against like a City team. But still PSG to win the whole thing regardless. But I'd say a draw in that.
Yeah, I mean,
game.
this is going to be really interesting. I mean, no one spent more money over the last decade than these two teams. PSG is like 1.42 billion and Man City's like 1.7 over the last 10 years.
That's freaking nuts.
It was interesting to hear Pep today come out and say, essentially, he said, I don't know how to stop them. He's like, honestly, I have no idea. You're talking about the three of the best players in the world, if not the three best players in the world. Like, we're just going to have to hope we defend well. I was like, that's not reassuring for City supporters, all two of them. But I mean,
wait. We also got to bring up the stadium, searching the stadium.
Yeah. But I mean, it's still going to be a great game to watch. This is arguably the two best teams in the tournament, at least from an odds perspective. So this could be the game of the tournament for all we know.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's one game you're going to watch throughout this whole year. It's this game.
You mean you're telling me you're not going to watch Sheriff versus Real Madrid tomorrow for the potential upset of the century?
a little rude of you there, Vito.
If they win, I will be a Sheriff fan for life.
We're going to hold you to that. This is recording.
That's it.
I honestly, I like Man City to take this one. I think they're going to go. They have a massive week ahead of them. They already just took it out in Chelsea. We'll get to that a little bit later on. They got Liverpool next weekend, plus PSG right away. So it's a huge 3 games in a row. But they look so good against Chelsea. Their high press was going, possession, the chances they were creating. I think they're just in two different spaces right now as clubs, right, between PSG and Man City the way they're playing. So I wouldn't be shocked Pep goes in there and actually grabs the win.
Yeah.
Then between we got Porto and Liverpool, Porto at home.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough match for Liverpool. Porto's a good team, and while Liverpool has been playing exceptionally well, top of the Premier League at the moment, even if so by 1 point, it's still going to be a very good match. Porto's not an easy place to go to and get points from. That team's always very well drilled. They're firing on all cylinders this year in their league, so they're going to have to be careful. Especially not to get hit on counterattacks and things of that nature. But I still like Liverpool for this match. I think it's going to be close, but I think they'll edge it out.
That debatably might be the game of this match week coming up, besides like the Milan, whoever Milan's playing. I think it's Atletico. But I mean, these are two high octane teams going head to head. It's almost going to be like a repeat, in my opinion, of like the Brentford Liverpool game that we watched this past weekend. Them just slugging it back and forth, like hot, just back and forth, open end play. It's going to be a hell of a game to watch. I think Liverpool probably gets the edge just from quality and the way their form has been. But definitely, in my opinion, the game of the week.
Yeah, I mean, it's always hard to count them out and bet against them regardless. But I mean, Porto played Atletico very tight, and they were in Madrid, right, last time, if I remember correctly? Or
so.
they drew 0-0. I'm almost positive it was Atletico at home. So for Porto to go away and get that kind of result against them, I think it's pretty impressive. And then Liverpool was good, but like Milan took it to them last time and they weren't really as convincing as they should have been. So tough to call. I honestly, it wouldn't shock me if that game ends up being a draw. Then the Wednesday results, Wednesday games, we have Juventus at home against Chelsea, and then Man U at home against Villarreal, which is a repeat of the Europa League final from last year, which Villarreal won.
Yeah, well, starting off with that one, this is going to be a tough matchup for United, and this is going to say a lot about their character going forward for the rest of the season, not only in this competition and for others. I think United's now dropped 3 of their last 4 games in all competitions. I mean, we saw what happened against Young Boys when they got the red card and, they lost. They narrowly get past West Ham, only thanks to Jesse Lingard redeeming himself. And then they followed it up by losing to West Ham and then losing to Aston Villa with a 90-something minute penalty. United's always for the last couple of years has been inconsistent, but the teams that go deep in competitions and that do well and on all fronts, they find a way to bounce back and kind of stem the bleeding. And for United to drop 3 or 4, it doesn't seem like that's happening. So this is going to be a statement match. You cannot lose your opening 2 matches of the group and think you have a fantastic shot still at going through. Like, yeah, they're still United. They'll have a good opportunity, but this is a must-win game for United, both in their confidence in general and for the group standings.
Yeah, in all honesty, credit to Young Boys in the last game prior when they played United. But I don't foresee another red card coming in like that again, in all honesty. And if they have 11 players on the pitch and Cristiano Ronaldo is one of them, I have to go with that team.
Mhm.
It's a totally different team from when they played Villarreal last year, even 6 months ago, however long ago it was. So Villarreal is really good, well trained, well drilled in with like their tactics, but I just don't know how they'll be able to cope with the attack, in all honesty. So
Yeah, it'll be tough to see. I mean, they're also in a not the easiest group either. I mean, they're going to be facing Atalanta next, so they really, really need to maximize their points here, just to get themselves on the front foot after the first, game week with all these teams. Obviously, at home against the young boys later on in the competition, I think they do take that one. I think they should. But regardless, any the other two teams, they're just as tough. And starting off with a loss and 0 points against the young boys, that's a tough one for them. But
yeah.
Honestly, if they weren't at home, go draw, or I'll give them just for Old Trafford, the atmosphere be good, and the Real won't be. What?
You went robot on us again.
God damn it, bro.
It is okay, Steve.
At what point do I?
You're out here talking binary, like
ones and zeros.
I saw no one's face just change. I was like, "Fuck me."
So basically, I think what you said is that if it wasn't at home, you'd have a little tougher decision. But being in Old Trafford, you take United here in this matchup.
Yeah. Do you want me to go back and like go through everything, or what are we doing?
No,
here?
we got it.
No, just go past it.
We'll just take Vito's editing then.
Let it go.
Yeah. Appreciate it. Thanks. I'm not embarrassed or anything. My face isn't red. Last game for we got Juve and Chelsea.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a little closer of a matchup until this match week in Serie A. It sounds like both Dybala and Morata are going to be out of this match.
Yep.
And given the form that Juventus was in, even with them on the field, it's kind of tough not to pick Chelsea. I know they just had a not so great match against Man City that we'll touch on later, but I think it's still going to be Chelsea's game to lose for this. So I think it's fair to say they'll be going through, and I want to say it's at the Bridge. No, it's in Juventus. At Juventus, still.
Yeah, I mean, with your two best, probably debatably your best playmaker missing, and then your out and out striker missing, it's very, very hard to imagine Juventus coming away.
Big Rom's coming back to terrorize them.
Yeah, he knows the stadium. He knows the way they play.
Yeah.
He terrorized them already. I just don't see them walking away without 3 points, in all honesty.
Yeah, you guys hit it home. I don't see how Chelsea doesn't go in there and take it. Although, is Mason Mount coming back or no?
He's in a race for fitness right now. It's anyone's guess. I think he'll play, but if I'm Chelsea, I'm looking at how important he is and how vital he is, especially given their performance without him last week against a big club like City. I think you take all the time you need to rest these guys and make sure they're fully fit for a long season.
Yeah, I mean, you saw the difference between when Mount and Pulisic weren't out there making those driving runs. So.
Yeah.
Let's head over. Let's get to the Stars and Stripes section of the show where we cover the United States men's national team players from all across the globe. And first off, one of the best performances he's had in a while, we got Serginho Dest.
Yeah, Dest had a really good game. I don't think he's been bad this season by any stretch. I think he's been averaging like a 7-3 overall across La Liga this year, but he played almost a full 90 minutes in a 3-0 win for Barcelona against Levante. He had 3 key passes, most importantly, the assist. He won 11 of 16 duels, which is just a crazy number, including 8 recoveries. So it's good to see him start hitting those heights that he can reach. He just needs to start doing it on a more consistent basis, but it's good to see him, contributing to a bit of a lackluster Barcelona at this point.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We had Tim Weah over in France.
Oh yeah, 90 minutes, 1 assist, 5 key passes. Had himself a game, right? Couple dribbles won as well. In general, they got the win 2-1 against Strasbourg. He helped, create the goal. I think he got the assist, and also he drew the penalty, correct? If I'm not mistaken.
No, I'm not sure. I'm not 100%.
Someone correct me on this, but I'm fairly positive he did. That being said, he also took a pretty nasty knock to the head in that game. Dude's a warrior. He's playing through that injury. Coming back, I'm actually now 90% positive he got the penalty because I remember seeing the video highlight of him doing that. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that. But awesome game for him. Good to see him playing well. Good to see Lille playing well, especially given some of the struggles they've had. I think in the Champions League pretty recently too, and just after the French league last year. So Good to see. Good to see him doing good.
Yeah, no, I love the assist too because he beat out the defender for the ball when it was right around the byline and everything, and just came in, took it, and just beautiful.
Yeah, it'd be great to see him as a not second striker, but second winger to come in, help back up, especially in the World Cup qualifiers. Hopefully, he gets a nice call up. That'd be big.
He definitely would have without the injury last time out. So. Then over to the MLS, we got Matt Turner, probably the first goalkeeper I think we've actually had on this segment or whatnot. But whole 90 minutes played, did concede 1 goal, but had 2 diving saves, and he saved a penalty, and it was man of the match performance and a 2-1 win for New England. Ironically, Daryl DK was the one that did score against him, so that's good to see as well from United States perspective. But overall, good game by kind of, I guess, our number 1 keeper right now, at least going forward. For the most
definitely
part.
Our number 1 keeper.
I've undisputed at this point. He's
definitely got to get some game time in there. Yeah. Next up, over to Germany, Chris Richards.
Yeah, Chris Richards had a really good game. It was a really difficult game too. Hoffenheim versus Wolfsburg. Wolfsburg's been playing extremely well in the Bundesliga this year. So it was a really good. What's up?
Is that Wolfsburg first defeat?
I think so. That's a good question. It might be. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look that
up. This is a Premier League podcast, not a.
But it was their first defeat.
That's why we don't know.
It was their first defeat. They were just about top of the table, level on points with Bayern up until that. But anyway, a really good performance by him. It's good to see him getting the minutes that he needs to be getting. And as a center back, grabbing that assist is definitely a boost for his confidence. He played extremely well. He created 2 chances from a center back position and won 4 of his 5 duels with 7 clearances. So he, again, just looks like he's progressing, showing the talent he has that he just wasn't getting the minutes to show on that Bayern Munich team. So I'm happy he's able to, show what he's got at Hoffenheim over there.
Yeah, getting that loan back to them.
Do you think he comes in and steps into that center back role? Maybe if, depending on Brooks's form right now, because it hasn't been the hottest. World Cup qualifiers coming up.
He should definitely be called into camp, especially after his own move over there. That's not. I don't think that's a question, but who knows with Greg. Does he start right away? I don't think so, just because of how well Miles Robinson's been playing. I think Brooks
that's my question: is if you do drop Brooks to bring in Richards if he's playing well and pair him with Robinson.
I think you tried a couple formations, a couple different combinations with them because they haven't had a ton of time together. They're all so young too. You got to toy around with it and see what it works, which is why a couple of those tournaments were good for it. But qualifiers is a tough time to make those types of gambles, especially given the form we're in.
Yeah, it'll depend on the system I think we use too. So if we go 3 center backs, we go 2, and what we actually end up going with, but we'll see. I would say no right now. I think Brooks is still the undisputed number 1 center back. Granted, his form over the last weeks hasn't been the greatest, but we'll see how much that plays into Greg's decisions. Back over to the MLS, Zardes back and healthy.
Yeah, 70 minutes, 2 goals. Needless to say, very efficient. Got the man of the match performance in the win over Montreal. In general, he's looking good. Hopefully, he will be back in camp. Also, speaking of the World Cup qualifiers, curious to see how much he gets utilized, especially kind of given some of the woes we've had up top as of late, in at least the last round of qualifying. So good to see him on the score sheet. Hopefully, more to come from him. So,
yeah, agreed. I think he definitely gets probably called in this time. Greg seems to love him too up front. So. He'll probably be in United States men's national team jersey. When's the roster drop? Actually, it should be coming out the next week. Day or 2, right?
This week,
yeah.
For the most part, cool. An honorable mention. We had a few other good performances. We can go on and on, kind of across the world right now. Pifo had a goal and a 2-1 win. Miyazu kept a clean sheet, 1-0 for Alves against Atletico Madrid. Actually, it's a really good performance there. Mark McKenzie clean sheet and a 3-0 win. And like I said before, Daryl DK gets back on the score sheet and a 2-1 loss. The other big news that we have from United States front, Pepe, and reportedly on the move and getting scouted by a bunch of teams. We've heard Ajax, Milan, Juve, I think Bayern even too. Yeah. What do you guys think is his best destination?
Ajax, absolutely. Those guys produce talent like it's nothing else. It'd be the perfect system for him to learn, to grow as a striker. He'll definitely get, if he's good, but if he's what they view him as, I think he'll flourish there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say Ajax as well. My secondary destination for him would probably be AC Milan. He's 6'1". He's a pretty big kid. He's still only 18 years old too. So I think getting the chance to learn from a target man like Giroud or Zlatan Ibrahimovic, given especially that's how AC Milan likes to play their systems, I think that would be great for him to kind of learn through that. And I think it would really be useful for him. So I would say one of those two as well.
That's fair. Yeah, Ajax, Dortmund, I'd like to see. Anywhere that typically likes playing the young players and is not afraid to use them and get them experience.
You think he replaces Holland?
Maybe. It is possible. It is possible. Maybe not to the full extent of how many goals he scores, but might just take the number. Let's head over to the Barclays Premier League, which we're supposed to be covering anyway, and to get our weekly recaps going. First game on board, we had Manchester City and Chelsea. Man City just gave them the D this week. They went to Stamford Bridge, took all 3 points in a 1-0 win. Probably could have been worse for Chelsea. We had a goal line clearance by Thiago Silva in there, and just the amount of attacks and just going forward that Man City was doing. They basically were high pressing in FIFA like it was FIFA 15, and just like everyone going forward, just the entire team was up there the entire match. I don't think they dropped off probably till the 75th, 80th minute or so. And first time in a long time, I think Tuchel really got the formation and his tactics wrong for Chelsea. The midfield three between Jorginho, Kovacic, and Conte, I thought was the worst thing we've seen in a very long time from him. And they really missed Mount and Pulisic just not making those driving runs forward.
Yeah, that was Pep got it right and Tuchel got it wrong. Basically, is the final conversation for this. I mean, there's still enough talent on that Chelsea team that you can't really excuse the performance because a lot of players played potentially the worst game of the year so far for that team.
Also true.
I think City definitely deserved all 3 points without a doubt. They were the more creative. They were on the front foot. They were pressing the top. They're pressing the issue, and they just looked comfortable for large parts of the game. I think Chelsea might have had 1 or 2 opportunities, and you can tell they were starting. You can tell Chelsea even was starting to feel that way too when they were trying to spin long balls down the channels that they weren't doing earlier on in the game because they just needed to get out of that press, which was working so well for them. Kante didn't look like himself, to your point. This was a statement win from City. There was a lot of talk whether or not City was a little off the pace. This was a statement win that it's still technically City's to lose. If they want it, you have to beat them.
Yeah. And then the week they have coming up, we already mentioned with PSG and Liverpool next Sunday. It's hell of a schedule for them right now.
I will say one thing as a Chelsea supporter, it was nice to see the true colors of Marcos Alonso's again. That's the Marcos Alonso I'm used to.
Aren't we all? I did like the 2 striker system. I just think it was the wrong game to implement it. I think we should have stacked it. Yes. They should have stacked the midfield a little bit better and had more support for Lukaku up front.
I agree.
An outsider's perspective, Mike, just not 2 Chelsea fans.
To be honest, I was asleep. I was pretty hungover. I did not.
Come on, it was 4:30 my time, and I woke up.
Well, I was.
If you're questioning the dedication for the show, people,
yeah,
there
and
it
I was
is right
hungover,
there.
so that's a +2.
Anyway,
you actually never went to sleep.
A game I did watch was the Villa Old Trafford game, which is coincidentally the game we do have next. And
interesting. At the same time that you were asleep. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I did. Right there.
Guess we got DVR.
That being said, so that in that game in particular, we pretty much got a very late goal, 88th minute by House. Am I saying that right? Maybe. Who knows? Anyway, he almost went from 0 to 0. And man, you were awarded a penalty in stoppage time for a handball on him. But the great Emiliano Martinez with some unbelievable CONCACAF tactics going up, shouting that he doesn't want Bruno, the pen master, to take it, but he wanted Penaldo to take it. And it really got in Bruno's head, apparently, because he sent that ball to Rosed. It's still in space, floating around. He even put out an apology on Instagram and Twitter saying how he'll never miss a penalty again, which I thought was kind of weird, in all honesty.
And impossible.
Yeah. but that being said,
I thought the dude broke his leg or something. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was a little weird. But that being said, awesome win by Villa. I don't think any of us picked them to win that game as like a bold prediction in general. Loved Emiliano Martinez having the confidence and the cojones to step up and even talk that shit and then go afterwards to his fans and dance in front of them.
That was so freaking funny.
That was epic. He's an epic player. I'm a big fan of him on a side note. But
yeah, and fair play to the supporters also in the parking lot afterwards doing the Ronaldo in front of Old Trafford. Yeah, the reason Bruno said he wasn't going to miss another penalty is because he's officially off duty because Penaldo's taking everyone from here on out.
Oh yeah, they had a conversation in Portuguese that was pretty simple. Just nope, that's it.
The calling for Ronaldo, though, The amount of a sack that takes to do is absolutely incredible. That is nuts.
Well, I mean, we'll touch on it later too, but this is going back to what I was saying about Manchester United and their upcoming game in the Champions League. If you take a look at United's next couple fixtures, it is unbelievably difficult. They have in order Villarreal, Everton, Leicester, Atalanta, Liverpool, Tottenham, Atalanta again, City, a break for 1 week, and then they play Villarreal and Chelsea. That is an unbelievably brutal lineup.
What's that?
They're
10 straight games?
Yeah, and then and after Chelsea's Arsenal, well, yeah, whatever.
But
listen, the way they're playing right now, we'll get to that too. But.
That is an incredibly difficult lineup. It is imperative that United start off on the right foot this week in the Champions League and get a couple points because they're going to need to string some momentum together if they want to maintain their position in the table.
Oh, well, Gunnar better be up to the test there. Then we run over to Leicester City and Burnley 2-2 draw.
Yeah, that was a really good game. 2-2 draw. Jamie Vardy on the score sheet 3 times. Unfortunately for him, one of those was an own goal to open up the scoring, but he did put 2 in later on, including an 85th minute equalizer. Burnley almost had all 3 points at the end of this game. They scored a header from a free kick, but it was deemed offside, so it got chalked off and it ended up all in 2-2. I guess really the real takeaway from this game is, are Leicester City in trouble now? 13th in the league, not looking like themselves over the last couple of years.
Yeah, you got to start slowly ringing the alarm bells. In all honesty, 13th for them is, obviously, they came from that real rags to riches story, winning the Premier League, almost fighting off relegation. But over the past couple of years, they've definitely built the reputation, and rightfully so. And to see them sitting at 13th now, it's got to be setting off some type of alarm for Brendan Rodgers and the rest of those fans. It would be for me. So,
from a goal creation standpoint, too, they're not really getting forward as much. It's very heavily relying on Vardy again. Defensively, they're lacking. I thought when Vestergaard came in there, they'd be much better off if they had some depth at center back and they'd be pulling together some more clean sheets. And instead, it's kind of going the opposite way right now.
Yeah,
I mean, West Ham pretty much embarrassed them the one day. They barely beat Norwich.
Yeah, my biggest problem for them right now is I feel like they're very leaky. We said it before the season started that what we saw from them at the tail end of last year, I know there were injuries and things of that nature, but their main problem was letting in too many goals. They just were very flimsy in the back. And you can see that again this year. I mean, they have a -3 goal differential. And they're letting in 2 goals against Burnley. They're letting a goal against Norwich, who hasn't secured a point yet all season. I mean, they played a good game against City, but they parked the bus. I know they had a red card, but another 4 against West Ham. They need to shore up that back line because if you keep letting in 2+ goals a game, you can't expect to be picking up the points that you want to get.
Yeah, it's definitely hurt them too, the Fofana injury pretty early on. But, you'd think they signed Vestergaard's, he's a good center back. So I would assume it'll click for him soon. I haven't really watched too many of their games in particular and how he's played, but it's not like he's a bad player. So they just got to figure out a way to tighten that back line. And, maybe I know they have Idrissa Gueye, or not Idrissa Gueye. I'm sorry. Can't remember the center defender's name.
Ndidi.
And Ndidi. Yes. Thank you. Ndidi.
No, center Ndidi.
So, I mean, they have players there that are more than capable. It's for whatever reason, something's not gelling with them right now. So,
yeah, Vito just brought up, man, you schedule Leicester's isn't any easier. They have to go away to Poland midweek game for Europa League, come back away to Palace, who's actually been playing relatively pretty good for the most part and pretty tough on defense. Then they're at home to Man U. All the way, they have to go all the way to Russia then midweek again. Come back away to tough. Brentford.
Yeah.
And then Brighton, Arsenal, back to another game against Spartak. It's not an easy schedule for them easier. So if their depth is lacking right now and the goals are leaking, this next month and a half is going to be a hell of a time for them as well.
Yeah, depth is going to be an issue for them, and it's going to become apparent pretty soon, I think, when you see those tired legs.
Yeah.
Agreed. Going over to Everton and Norwich. Everton with 2-0 victory. Pretty standard game for them for the most part. Norwich did have their moments, and they did control a little bit in the second half. They probably could have nicked a goal, but that was basically at most what they were going to get. The initial one was a VAR penalty that was given, and Towson took that and put it away. Everton pretty much cruised to a 2-0 win there. There really wasn't much in this game. Norwich, 16 straight defeats. If you go back to the last time they were in the Premier League, it's just getting worse and worse for them right now.
Yeah. And that's maybe something we could talk about in a little bit, at least for their following game, because I think the next game they play is against Burnley, right?
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. So that'll be a very telling game for both teams who are in the relegation zone right now. But I mean, what do you think has to change for them? Like, what do they need to be doing, or what is
Roster?
Everything. Dude, the worst part is like in the beginning of the year when they were playing the good teams, they honestly didn't even look that bad going forward. And then now they're just starting to collapse a little bit.
Mhm.
I thought they made some pretty good signings.
It's like they have no confidence when they're on the ball. Like they're missing that crit. Once they sold Buendia,
100%, they changed their entire team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
It's
even when you look at the stats, they outpossessed Everton. They almost outshot them. They have more touches, more passes, just about the same corners. Like they played a decent game, but they're not scoring any goals.
Yeah, crazy. How do you win games?
Like at all.
No, it's really bad. And I feel so bad for them too, because I honestly going from the preseason into the regular season, I really thought they made the right moves rather than like the last time they came up, and I thought they were not even close to being.
Absolutely.
So I don't know if it's a manager thing, but they've stuck with him for I don't even know how long at this point. It's been a while.
Yeah, well, when he gets you promoted twice in 3 years, it's hard to sack the guy.
They look so good in championship every year too.
Oh my God, yeah.
Over to West Ham and Leeds.
Yeah, West Ham taking all 3 points at the death with a Mikel Antonio 90th minute winner. Good to see, obviously, him back out there after his little red card incident. And now Leeds in a very precarious and dangerous spot, dropping into the relegation zone. Bamford's out injured. I don't think they've said anything about a date yet for when he might possibly
not
return.
Yet. Ankle injury. Not sure.
Yeah. So definitely it's good to see, West Ham is, kind of getting back on the ball after a little bit of a stumble, a couple draws. I think they had a loss in there, but they came back, beat Man U. I got this win. So they're kind of trending in a positive direction. Leeds, on the other hand, another one of those teams we were kind of just discussing, and like that Norwich scenario where we kind of expected, they're not, with Norwich, we kind of knew where they were going to be, but Leeds, we thought there'd be a little bit of a slump. Didn't think it'd be this much of a slump. And for them in particular, kind of same story. What could be improved? What's going wrong? Where do we see that?
They're just the same exact team, and everyone knows what they're about right now. They haven't changed anything with their identity. They haven't improved their defense, and they're winless in what are we 6 match weeks through now, or 5?
6.
It's 6, right?
Yeah,
that's not
3 draws
not
for
easy.
them.
At what point, if you're not to say they're gonna ever get rid of Marcelo Bielsa, but I mean, at what point do you kind of start ringing that bell for him? Because sitting in that position for them, I feel like is, that's
they're way better than 18th.
Yeah,
he has 3 more matches in my opinion. Their upcoming matches are against Watford, Southampton, and Wolves. All 3 of them are not Champions League caliber teams. No offense to them. They need to be getting points off these teams. If they don't pick up a win in one of those 3, I mean, then you have to start seriously contemplating, because you're talking about EFL Cup against Arsenal, you're talking about Leicester City, Tottenham, Brighton, those types of matches coming up. So
he's not going to have a hot seat.
He also just re-signed too.
He did, yeah. He signs 1-year deals though, or something along those lines. That's what I read, something like that, which is interesting.
That's bold. From the perspective.
So and the club's perspective.
Yeah.
He's got to have a hot bucket, not a hot seat soon. So
over to Watford and Newcastle.
Yeah, Watford and Newcastle. I mean, not the most eventful game in the world. This one ended up 1-1. Pretty decent game all around. Islam Assar continues his run of form. He's now got 4 goals in 6 matches, and in this match he scored in the 72nd minute to salvage a point for Watford, who are, I think, Steve, you were saying it, a little farther up the table than a lot of us were thinking at the beginning of the season. Now they're now sitting in 12th place with 7 points. I mean, they have the identical record of Leicester City, and they're 2 points behind Tottenham essentially. But good match from them. Steve Bruce, you think the pressure is growing on him a little bit?
Absolutely, man.
100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
They should have had all 3 points in this game too, and they were very creative, and they leaked 1 goal when they shouldn't have. To my knowledge, are they still winless too? They're one of the 5 teams.
They're the exact same position as Leeds. 3 draws and 3 losses.
Yeah, no, we got shockingly 5 teams still winless. I'm actually kind of impressed by that this far through the season.
Strongest the Premier League's ever been.
Yeah, right. But yeah, no, the hot seat's definitely growing on him, and then it's tough to say because they've been teetering along that bottom for how many seasons now?
A while.
Yeah.
a while.
And even when they got relegated and came back up, but I would. If
Give him a little
St.
bit of time.
Maximum doesn't carry them to the promised land, I don't know what.
That's
else
a
we can
lot
do.
to rely on St. Maximum
Yes.
for. I love him as a player, but I don't think he's the kind of guy who's going to carry. Not no offense to him, I just don't think he's going to be the guy to carry you into those games unless
I
you're
agree.
winning. Unless you're winning those 1-0 and their defense, I'm just not sure they're going to be able to have those 1-0 type of wins.
Is Wilson's how long is he out for? Was just
Callum
one
Wilson?
game?
I think a couple games.
Is it okay? So I mean that's huge on them too. That's their guy going forward. But no, I would definitely say the hot seat and panic button. Hot seats on him. I don't know about the panic button just yet.
Yeah, they're saying he could be out until after the October international break.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
That's tough. That's definitely tough for them. But yeah, no, I would
Yeah.
There'll be some headlines with them.
Kudos to Watford though. Doing a lot better than I think a lot of people realized. So
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, Sar going into the season, I thought everyone knew was like the talisman, and he's performing and keeping them up right now. So good for
Definitely.
him. Over to the game of the week, without a doubt, possibly one of the games of the year. I will go as far and say that. Brentford Liverpool 3-3 draw, one of the craziest games from a neutral perspective. 10 minutes into the game, there was 2 goal line clearances, one for each team, shot upon shot. I think both of them hit the woodwork immediately. It was nuts. It was back and forth. Brentford struck first, Liverpool came back, and then Brentford actually came back down, came from behind twice to tie the match up. So good for them. Great story for the Premier League. Love watching them play right now. They're kind of like the Leeds of last year, but although this game was a little separate defensively, but typically a lot stronger defensively as well. I don't see any trouble with them going forward. They're very secure in the Premier League, and it's going to be fun to see how far up they can push on the table.
Yeah, they even almost nicked all 3 points at the end there. They played a ball over the top to even Tony, who
very
just
close.
didn't have it in the legs anymore. I think Van Dijk got back and made a really nice tackle. But yeah, that was a great game to watch.
It was unbelievable. It was literally like it was high octane, just back and forth, like exactly what you would have wanted as a neutral. To your point, Steve. Hopefully more games like that. Yeah, heavyweight.
That's all it was.
They remind me actually a little bit more of I think Wolves than Leeds. That year they came up and finished about 7th or 8th.
Okay, bold.
I think they are a little stronger defensively than Leeds. That's my only caveat to not saying Leeds. But yeah, either way, I'm loving watching them right now. They're so much fun every game they're in.
Yeah, and the atmosphere at their home ground, dude, is amazing.
Yeah,
so much fun to watch. But good for them, dude. I mean, they haven't been back there in so long. So the only thing though, I will say Liverpool, I thought it was a disappointing performance as well. Again, fun game to watch, but from a coaching perspective, I thought Klopp got it kind of wrong a little bit, and they shouldn't be conceding 3 goals to Brentford either. So
agreed.
Yeah.
Next up, we got Southampton and Wolves.
Yes, Wolves 1-0 winners against Southampton. Nathan Redmond opened the scoring for Southampton, but after it was reviewed offsides, Bruno Large ended up dropping Adama in the beginning of the game, and Trincao for that matter. Ended up starting Podence, who in all honesty didn't really have the greatest game, and Huang Hee-chan, if I'm saying that correctly. Didn't do too much, but the one main story and the one main headline in this in particular, Raul Jimenez getting the goal, awesome for him in particular. I think it was just over a year or just under a year since he had that terrible head injury. And for him to get that goal, obviously it meant the world for him. It meant the world for the players. Like you could tell, like that was a moment, in my opinion, at least for their season, something I was thinking about as a major turning point for them and probably for him in general. I think this is the point where we kind of said like, hey, like they're not playing to that Wolves style. They're not scoring. I think now that Jimenez is on that score sheet, it's going to give the rest of that team confidence. It's going to give, more importantly, Jimenez confidence. I think you're going to start seeing a little bit of a resurgence from that team now. So,
yeah, I love to see Jimenez back out there grabbing goals. The game missed him. I mean, he's a phenomenal player, and he's definitely one of the heartbeat of that team. So, I think you're right, Mike. I think with him firing again, or hopefully starting to fire again, this Wolves team is going to be shipping in goals nonstop, given the chances they're creating week in, week out.
Yeah, hopefully Jimenez isn't shipping in goals against the U.S. and he doesn't get
yeah.
But I mean, I truly do think this is kind of a turning point for their season now that he's hopefully finding his shooting boots.
Yep.
So
I hope so too. The only thing I will say about that, kind of playing like a little bit devil's advocate, they were probably one of their least creative games going forward. Actually, it was a really nice solo effort by Jimenez that actually got the goal for him. Southampton, I thought it actually kind of outplayed them for the most part of the game. But yeah, maybe it is the turning point for them. That'd be great to see. I think they deserve it. I was kind of shocked by Adama not starting because I thought he was their best guy going forward. Although his final product isn't necessarily always the best in the final third with like just getting the cross or the pass across net. But we'll see. I guess trust in Bruno Lage and see what goes on. And we had the North London derby. Mike, cover the ears, cover the eyes, do whatever you want to do. Just don't pay attention, whatever it is.
You can sing a lot of turn. You can jump off the call and come back on in a couple minutes if you want.
In all honesty, I might do that.
Or you can rip your team.
Yeah, I mean, oh my God. What are you going to say about this game? I mean, I don't know whether or not to praise Arsenal more or criticize Tottenham after that match. I mean, this is the North London derby, and Tottenham just did not show up, and Arsenal came in all cylinders, especially in that first half with absolute blitz, 3 goals in 22 minutes. All of their young guys performing. I mean, Bukayo Saka, goal and assist. Emile Smith-Rowe, goal and assist. Aubameyang's back on the score sheet. It was an unbelievable match for them. They were gelled up beautifully. I mean, their counterattacking was almost like Arsenal of old. They were very fluid moving forward. If you look at the stats, they might look a little similar, both on Arsenal side and Tottenham side. But I mean, this match was really just all Arsenal, and it's pretty incredible to see where Arsenal is right now and where Tottenham is compared to where these teams were even as close as 3 match weeks ago. With Arsenal at the bottom of the table and Tottenham sitting on top. While I really would like to praise Arsenal even further, I think this game even said more about Tottenham. In particular, Nuno and Harry Kane. There was a lot of question marks when Nuno got appointed, whether or not he was going to be able to kind of replicate what Pochettino did or what Mourinho doing at the beginning of his tenure, definitely not the end of his tenure. And
he's doing his best.
Yeah. I think given what we're seeing about Tottenham and what we're also seeing in Wolves and the way they're playing, Steve, you said it earlier in the year that the Wolves team might have been better from a player standpoint than management standpoint, which is what not a lot of people thought. And now this is kind of proof behind it. They look flat. They look lethargic. They're lacking ideas. Kane can't get his mind out of Manchester at this point, which is an issue. And I don't see how they're going to start turning this around at this point.
Yeah. I'll chime in. First and foremost, massive credit to Arsenal. They 100% outplayed, out-tacticked, everything you can say in that game, in all honesty. So I'll start by saying that. And it definitely feels like for Mikel Arteta, we were just talking about turning points of a season, like to your point, Vito, to go from that bottom point to now go above your rivals, bitter rivals in a North London derby. That's got to feel like some serious vindication for him and a lot of those younger players, in all honesty, for a lot of the criticism they were hearing. So big moment for them. And obviously give them the shout out. From Tottenham's perspective, everything that could have went wrong did go wrong, in all honesty. There's a lot of questions asked. And at the end of the day, obviously, there's players that are an issue. And sometimes scenarios, there's tactics that are an issue with Nuno. If you ask me, not to get too down of a rabbit hole, but a lot of it, the old saying is a fish, when it dies or something like that, the head starts to rot first, not the body. Right. So my problem is always with the people at the top. It's Daniel Levy. I've always had that issue, always had that thought process. So they're just not doing the things they should be doing. That being said, no reason why they shouldn't have come out so flat. It was unbelievably ridiculous to see that.
Yeah.
So,
but never heard that analogy before, actually. Yeah. With the fish. So you're completely wrong. I have no idea.
But I mean, like you said, Mike, full credit to Arsenal. I think that was the best game they've played under Arteta so far.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Like bar none. Yeah. I can't remember another time I was more impressed with this team. That felt like Arsenal of the old, of the 5-6 years ago when Giroud was still on the team, etc.
It was very fluid.
Yeah. And Bukayo Saka came out after the game and he said, we can always play like this. And if we do, this team will win trophies. And it's hard not to agree with that, given what they played. If they played that way all through the year, they'd be in the top 4 positions guaranteed.
Yeah, 100% would be fighting for that.
Yeah.
Well, if they played a team that every game that didn't have a midfield, sure.
Or defense, apparently.
But anyway,
That definitely helps.
I
Definitely helps.
digress.
I saw, I mean, not to get too much into it on you, Mike, but I saw in Tottenham Twitter accounts, they were calling for Nuno's head already this early into the season. Agreed or disagree?
I think he probably gets a little run because there's a couple run the games coming up where it's against, again, more bottom half type of opponents, not the Champions League type of caliber coming up. I think he'll probably get that run. And if nothing happens, they're not able to pick up points. I think at that point they cut ties, in all honesty. I'd be curious to see who they bring in. Probably be Ryan Mason again, but at that point, why keep him? So
Okay. We made our last game of the weekend. It was a Monday nighter, Crystal Palace and Brighton. 1-1 game. Crystal Palace got off to a pretty good start for the most part. Controlled the game early in the first half. Late in the first half, Conor Gallagher was making a driving run, fouled by Trossard, and Zaha tucked away a penalty. And it actually is 400th appearance for Palace.
400. Holy crap!
Are you sure?
From what I read, I could be mistaken.
I don't know about.
I'm now Googling it.
How long has he been?
Only 28. Jesus. That's probably about right. I mean, I don't know.
I'm
looking at
Googling
while
it.
you're talking.
Anyway,
sorry.
regardless, later on, right at the end of the game, right 95th minute, right before stoppage time is over, goalkeeper clears it out. One pass over the top, right back at him, and Neil Maupay tucked away. Nice little chip shot right over the top, and then just ran straight to the fans and just bragged right in their face for about 3 minutes straight. It was amazing to watch. Scenes right there. Him and Zaha got into a little bit. And then after the game too, they both sides are kind of being chippy.
Yeah.
Those clubs do not like each other.
It's a weird rivalry. Did you hear about it or did you read how?
No, I know the rivals, but I don't know the backstory fully.
It's from what I was reading or seeing on right before the game when I was watching it and working at the same time. They basically said that I believe like the Eagles, had like or they had the name prior or something along those lines, and then the Seagulls came and they, for whatever reason, it kind of sparked this rivalry. And I could be getting the story wrong, but it's pretty interesting how they kind of just became to hate each other, even though they're like 35 miles away, 36 miles away. So
interesting. I'm sorry, 363 appearances. Not far off, though, so you guys can both screw yourself. Where did I see 400?
I don't know.
Movie? Oh, wait, that was 300.
Dumbass. Oh, if you add in, I'm sorry, if you add in his international games, it's 400 total.
Okay, there you go.
Okay,
my apologies. 400th career match of his own career.
There you go. But yeah, I mean, overall, incredible game week. A lot went down, and thankfully none of it was VAR or controversy related. Just a lot of good matches and some surprising results and some statement games. So it was an incredible match week.
A lot of late goals, actually. A lot of them passed by the 80th minute.
Yeah.
We'll say, speaking of that past game, the Palace Brighton game, both teams doing surprisingly better, especially Brighton, surprisingly better than where I would have initially pegged them at the beginning of the season. So
yeah,
Patrick Vieira's team, he's got them playing pretty well. So they're a team to watch out for anybody who's playing them. So
let's just say someone called that out of us three. Just saying. Just saying. Let's move on to our bold predictions for the week. We just rip through all these games real quick. First up, we got Manchester United and Everton.
Tough one. Everton's playing extremely well. Manchester United is not. While they have the quality, maybe a slight quality edge. Hard to go against Manchester United and angry Ronaldo at Old Trafford. So I will take a Manchester United win.
Angry Ronaldo. What were you saying? You said they have to travel to how many places and play who? They have like a pretty crazy schedule coming up in general.
Well, now they have a crazy schedule coming up, but this match week is a home game for them. So their next two matches are at Old Trafford. So no travel for the next week and a half.
I'm going to take a draw in this game.
I'm with Michael as well on that one.
All right.
Next up, we already kind of mentioned this before. We have Burnley at home, Turf Moor, against Norwich City, who I'm not going to say desperately need to win, but pretty much really, 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 really need to win.
Yeah. I like how Burnley have been playing lately. I think it's going to be a draw. but I think it's going to be a tough fought draw. I think this might be finally the time Norwich is able to pull a point out of this. I don't think they're going to be able to overcome Burnley just because they know how to defend better than most teams in the Premier League. But I think it's going to be a tight affair, 1-1 game or so.
You think they score?
That's what I was going to say. I think Norwich finally gets the goal, but I don't think they hold on to the lead. And I think it becomes a 2-1 Burnley win.
Okay.
I'm taking Burnley win as well. Then we got Chelsea hosting Southampton.
Yeah, I think it's Chelsea through and through. Southampton, one of the teams without a win this year.
They did. Didn't they tie against Manchester United earlier?
City.
At
City. Yeah.
At City.
Yeah, no, they're not a bad team at all. I think Chelsea's going to be too much for them.
Angry Ronaldo. I think we got an angry Chelsea team. We'll take them.
Yeah,
angry Lukaku.
It's hard to bet against Chelsea. So, Chelsea.
Another good game we got. Leeds at home against Watford.
Oof.
You go first, Mike.
My head.
Peter doesn't want the pressure.
I know. My head obviously wants to go Leeds, but the way they've been playing, the way Watford's been playing, just in form. Man, I feel like this has a draw written on it, in my opinion. Leeds probably get a goal. Watford probably equalizes relatively late on. So they're just too leaky defensively for me to trust them to not give up something. So
yeah, I think it's going to be all level here as well.
I'm gonna take a Leeds win. I'm gonna keep predicting that until it actually happens.
Or you're
keep
just predicting
totally
you keep jinxing
it for us.
Yeah, exactly.
Leeds till I die, baby. Next up, Wolves hosting Newcastle.
I'm taking a Wolves win here.
Ditto. I like I said, I think that was the turning point the last game with Jimenez. I think they're gonna turn it on. Newcastle's kind of been in a slump, so
yep,
I'd have to go Wolves here.
I'm just going to play devil's advocate to everything you guys said today. I'm going to take a draw. Newcastle actually looked really good in their last game. I thought they should have gotten all 3 points, just one defensive lapse. And Wolves just haven't been going forward as much or as well as they were earlier in the season. The primetime game that day, Brighton hosting Arsenal. Much better game than probably we would have predicted coming into the season.
Yeah, no, very good game. One of the games of the week other than Pool versus City, obviously. I'm taking Brighton. Can't bet against Brighton right now. They are in form. They're hot. Even when they're down, they're not. They're finding ways to claw back and scrape out these victories and or draws. Arsenal look good. This is going to be interesting to see if Arsenal can replicate that form from last week. It's going to be a major statement for them if they can, and an even bigger statement for them if they can't. But I think Brighton's just flying high right now, and I think it'll end up being a draw. I think.
Yeah, consistency, at least under Mikel Arteta's run, has been the Achilles heel, right? And defensively, that's also been their Achilles heel. What did Brighton do really well? They create chances, they push forward, they defend well. And to Vito's point, they're clawing and finding a way back into games they probably shouldn't be, or they, at least last year, they weren't.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I think emotion's still running high, still feeling confident after the North London derby. I do think Arsenal get a goal. I think Brighton find a way to squeak out 3 points here. And I think they win 2-1.
Okay. I'm going to take an Arsenal win. I honestly just really, really love the way they were playing. They look so fluid on the ball. Everyone going forward. Saka, Smith Rowe, Aubameyang was getting in there, linking them up with both of them, kind of almost playing like a false 9-year-old sometimes. So I'll go 2-1 Arsenal. Over to Sunday, early morning game, Crystal Palace hosting Leicester.
Yeah, I think this is Palace's game to lose. Home side, Leicester has to go over to them. Clearly not playing up to their typical standards or what they expected themselves as far as Leicester's concerned. So I think Palace is in a good run of form, even though they're not getting the points I think they should have, especially last week against the team we just talked about, Brighton. So I give Palace all 3 points here.
Bold.
Yeah.
Bold.
I know.
I'm going to say a draw, a 1-1 draw, something along those lines, 0-0 maybe. Palace look really good going forward, just which is I didn't think they would for the majority of parts of the season, but they are, credit to them. Leicester have their problems right now, and I think that's going to come back to haunt them still. So I'd probably say a draw.
It's been a month since Leicester City have won a Premier League game. They're due. Daniel's logic. Leicester
I
City.
thought you were going to go the opposite way as soon as you said that. I thought you were going to be like, nah, they're beat.
Nope. They're due. That's all I
right.
got. They're due. That's it. Next up, another 9 p.m. or 9 a.m. game Eastern time. Tottenham hosting Aston Villa. Two teams in a little bit opposite directions right now, Michael.
They are, but I was reading online too. When Mauricio Pochettino first started, I'm being the ever optimist here. When he first started managing Tottenham, he went through a little bit of a slump himself, and then the game that turned it around for him was when he brought on Harry Kane versus Aston Villa. So that being said, hopefully he obviously plays Harry Kane versus Aston Villa first and foremost. But secondly, I do think Spurs have to come out with something after that piss poor showing, that piss poor performance. If they don't, you might as well fire Nuno on the spot because he can't get anything out of that team. They're going to come out swinging. I think I really do think Tottenham probably get a 1-0 win here, something along those lines. But yeah, they got to do something.
Yeah, I actually agree with Micah that they're going to win this game. I was a little hesitant at first, but I think maybe for different reasons I'm thinking that. But I think that North London derby, like you can lose to Chelsea 3-0, right? And
you can't lose the
next game.
Palace.
No, yeah, it's not the end of the world. Yeah. To lose the North London derby and get beat the way they did, I think that will set fire in Harry Kane and Son's stomach. I think they're going to come out wanting to just take it to Villa the entire game. I think they're going to get all 3 points here. 2-1.
It's like a 1-1 draw. I like the way Aston Villa has been looking lately. Going forward, they have plenty of talent, especially with all the signs that they made. And defensively, they've been pretty, I don't want to say rock solid, but they've been pretty good in the back. So their outside backs too, like someone like Matty Cash, they're not afraid to get forward and provide as much as possible, getting up there in a lot of pressure, high pressure. So I'm gonna take a draw. I like 1-1 in that one. West Ham Brentford could be a hell of a game again.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I feel like I gotta
take the over. Just take the over.
I gotta ride the Brentford train. Like I don't. My heart's telling me to do it. So
they are in London. They are at West Ham.
That's okay. I'm still gonna take Brentford. I got a feeling. I'm just gonna go with it. Let it ride.
Steve, what do you think?
Logically, it tells me West Ham should pick them apart. Mike's in my head. I'm gonna take at least a draw.
Oof. I'm taking the draw as well. When they met in the end of July, and it was not a big game, but it was a tight game. I think it's going to be more of that 2-2.
2-2 sounds like a perfect
that's
exactly
exactly what I was thinking.
Again, just take the over, whoever's listening.
Yep, hammer it.
And the last game of the weekend, we got Liverpool hosting Manchester City.
I'm going back-to-back draws on my predictions here. I think it's going to be a draw here. City's been not firing as well as they should have, but Liverpool's defense has been looking a little suspect.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be a tight game, but it'll be a draw.
Yeah, I think a draw is probably the right scenario here. I still think this is one of those games. Not to say it didn't come back to haunt them against Chelsea, because obviously they won, but not having that central figure, especially to occupy a Van Dijk, I think that's just, they're going to have a tough time creating chances. And I could easily see it being like a 0-0, 1-1 draw. So,
yeah, last time Liverpool's actually beaten Man City, it's been almost 2 years. It was November 2019. So
Champions League? No,
Premier League game.
Premier League.
So tough to say. A draw does sound like the right result. I was having fun going against you guys the entire night, though. But I will agree with you one time and one time only. 1-1 sounds probably about the right result for that one.
All right.
What are you guys' thoughts on the table real quick? Surprises, all that kind of stuff. We'll rip through it right now.
Yeah, I mean, not surprising to see who's in the top four. Liverpool, City, Chelsea, United. We've been saying that pretty much
Any
all
combination
year.
of those four, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious what Brighton is definitely the overperformer or the surprise performer this year. It's good to see them there. West Ham still about 7th place. I'm not overly surprised to see Leeds not doing well. I said at the beginning of the year that I thought they were going to hit a sophomore slump. They're kind of a one-dimensional team in how they play.
I felt like 13th, 14th.
Yeah, I was
Eventually pick
thinking,
it up.
14th, 14th-ish, not 18 without a win over 6 games. That was not anticipated at all. I mean, I think it's pretty clear who the surprises are. Brentford and Brighton, for me, are the two teams that I'm most happy to see playing well and surprised me at playing well this well.
In all honesty, I think there's one you're leaving out is that 5th place team right now, Everton, right? The one right above them too. I did not expect Everton to be in that 5th spot, and they're at level on points, 13 with Chelsea, with Man U, with City. I think they're I don't say punching above their weight because they do have a talented team, but at the beginning of the season, I did not think they'd be sitting at the 5th place spot, and I don't think they'll end there. But I mean, they're doing really well, and Raul Benitez too is doing a hell of a job coaching them.
Yeah, I think they got shit on a little bit too much because of their transfer window, but they really didn't lose anyone important either. So they basically carried over the same squad and then improved with Towson, with the midfield, Gray, who's been, I think, one of the best $1.5 million signings of all time.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised they're, I guess, maybe 5th, but at the same time, I think we all kind of knew they'd be a relatively, top of the table team and kind of punching for Europe, I would imagine. Be their
I don't know. I mean, if you remember last year, they started off incredibly high and were top of the table. Yes, Carlo Ancelotti was in charge, who is admittedly probably a little bit better than Rafa Benitez in terms of being a manager. But they were extremely, extremely hot last year until there was injuries to Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin. Mm-hmm. So I think I don't think it's out of the ordinary for them to be up there. It's just I don't think they're going to be able to maintain the consistent nature,
not the pace that
requires to be a 5th place team.
Yeah, it'll be tough. Then biggest surprise on the bottom half. What do you guys? I mean, obviously Leeds. I think we could all go about that, but let's throw a second team in there.
My boys, Burnley, Sean Dyche. What are they doing?
They live down there, bro.
Get out of there. I've been talking you guys up to be in the 17th and 16th spot consistently.
He's got 32 more games, baby.
I'm still confident in him. He'll pull it out. But yeah, obviously the bottom 3, Norwich, we kind of expected potentially. Leeds and Burnley, definitely, especially Leeds. We're not expecting them to be a relegation phase for. We'll see. It's going to be an interesting couple games for a couple of these clubs. So
I think you have to go up to the 13 and 14 slot to find the 2 teams you're surprised to be as low as they are, and that's Leicester City and Wolves.
Agreed.
Nuno left the Wolves, and that was a good combination for that club. I mean, while he's not necessarily succeeding in the best fashion at Tottenham right now, they were good with him at the helm. And Leicester City and Brendan Rodgers, given how they performed last year, to see them that low as well. I mean, between them, they have 4 wins in 12 matches. That's not typical of these 2 teams. So the alarm bell should start to ring in a couple weeks.
I agree. I'm with you on those. Those are definitely my other 2 teams as well. That very shocked to see in the bottom 10 of the league. Moving on to our prediction counter. You got me with 29. Both of you guys tied with 27. Second place again.
It's okay. It's not about how you start, it's about how you finish.
I'm going to finish strong.
Yeah.
Always finish first, right?
First is the worst, bro.
Yeah, that's what you say. Any other final thoughts you guys got, though?
No, I mean, we hit it all this week. I'm still a little shocked at the Super League ruling. But other than that, I think it was a great match week. Love to see Champions League plus Premier League back for this week. So it's going to be a great week.
Yeah, looking forward to the United States roster coming out for the upcoming qualifiers, just seeing who's out there. The changes from the first team to the second one, and then with the injuries, Reyna, Pulisic, and what's going to happen with those guys and some other ones. I think Tyler Adams picked up a knock too, didn't he, over the last game?
Yep. Yeah, he's they're saying that for the Champions League game for him in particular, he is like 50-50 right now to play. He won't start, but he'll probably get some minutes.
All right, so another week out. He should be all right then, hopefully. Yeah. But yeah, that'll do it for us on this episode of the Sunday League Screamers podcast. Like, comment, and hit the bell to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also find us on Spotify, Apple, and wherever else you get your podcast. Follow us on Twitter at the SL Screamers_pod for daily tweets and updates about the show and world football in general. I'm your host, Steve, with Vito, Mike, signing off.